So we were just talking a second ago about, packing up and just walking away. With everything that you've sacrificed, has it been worth it?
Yes. There is nothing that could have been said or done that would have changed what I did in 2008. It was the right thing to do, it was the ethical thing to do, and it was the legal thing to do. And I cannot see me ever making a different decision.
So you get reinstated, that was in 09 or 10?
Yes, 09.
And it starts all over again?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, we did meet in early January, to discuss my return to work. And from that day forward, the harassment started again. And it was mostly through Mr. Minot, but Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mrs. DeRoche participated in it. You want examples like this?
Well, nothing like court case
No.
detail, but I mean just so people have some sort of idea of.
Mrs. DeRoche would call Mr. Minot and complain about my ability to deal with the tasks of my job related to her department. She would come to City Hall and sit in Mr. Minot's office and talk about my inability, again, to do specific things related to my job, related to her department, and the entire department could hear her speak. Mr. Minot speaks softly, but Mrs. DeRoche does not. And just things like that. Mr. Fitzpatrick all of a sudden became involved in return to work issues. He had never become involved with anything to do with my job in the past.
Why do you think that the mayor and council allowed that whole situation to occur? Because everybody knew it wasn't secret. No one's been surprised. We've spoken to current and former councillors and interviewed them, some on the record, some off the record. But why do you think you were allowed to be treated this way?
Again, these were some of the most powerful people in the city that were treating me this way, and I don't believe anybody thought it would ever come to the light of day and that I would just quietly go away.
Now, we know of yourself and Deputy Fire Chief Hickley as official whistleblowers that have litigated against the city. I personally know of at least one other whistleblower that was dealt with very unfairly, but that hasn't really gone public, so I won't mention it now. Do you think that if you and Mr. Hickley have not been savaged the way that you have by Mayor Kilger and the city, that more whistleblowers would have stepped forward?
Oh, definitely. It's not just the city, it's also the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care legislation. I mean, the legislation says that whistleblowers are protected, but there's really no system in place to truly protect them. I mean, you cannot blow a whistle, be a whistleblower, and not have some kind of ability to access a lawyer, because just preparing for this case, and I was only a witness for the ministry, the things that were occurring at work needed to be dealt with, and I couldn't deal with them within a system where the CAO was in charge of the whistleblower policy still.
Or conflicted by being party to it.
Yes.
Because of his relationship with Ms. DeRoche.
Well,
I haven't defined it. I'm just saying there's whether they played checkers or anything else. I mean, there certainly was a friendship of some sort.
There was something that allowed him to continue with this behavior.
So we know that there was at least one, if not two, investigations this past summer or this past year. Were you asked to testify at either of them?
I was in the one, yes.
Okay.
Judith Allen investigation. I testified for a day.
Do you feel that was a productive exercise in your opinion?
No, not by any extremes. I've only read the 72-page summary of her investigation, and my opinion is that none of it is accurate. Well, 99% is inaccurate.
And the public, other than what we've leaked in CFN, didn't even know it existed. They've spent a lot of money and a lot of time on this internal investigation that's been in camera and completely top secret.
And there's been a lot over the years. My lawyer has sent documentation to various lawyers the city has had representing them related to my issues. And I think my count to date is there were 5 law firms involved with issues related to me. and has sent several letters asking them to make this more public, to let the employees know that the investigation was going on, tell the employees what their rights were, but none of that was done. So even the investigation was done in the atmosphere of fear, because people are still working there.
In your opinion, do you think that people like Ms. DeRoche and Mr. Fitzpatrick should have been punished for their actions?
Definitely.
Do you feel that they've been punished at all?
Well, I think they've been punished in ways that, their reputations have certainly been impacted by all of this. But certainly...
But both were given settlements.
Yes.
So they were rewarded with cash.
From the corporation, yes.
For taking actions that ultimately have cost the corporation. One counselor in an interview that we did estimated over $2 million.
And my only goal in the beginning of this in 2008 was to protect the residents from abuse, number one, and number two was to protect the city from litigation. And obviously neither one of those occurred.
Is there anything that any court or any group of people could do to fix what you've had happen to you over the last 5 years?
I'm hoping that in the future that the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care legislation gets changed, or gets, or things are put, or that things are put in place to support whistleblowers, including a reasonable amount of financial support for a lawyer to help them through this, because whistleblowers are not blowing the whistle on a coworker, they're blowing it on an organization. So they need all the support that they can get in every way possible.
Have you ever had a conversation in the last couple of years with any of the people involved in this situation, like Mr. Fitzpatrick or Mayor Kilger?
No, not really.
And if you could say something to them, what would you say?
That I hope that that they have learned from this experience, and I hope that given that both Rob Hickley and myself have come forward, and I'm hoping that there are many lessons to be learned, and that please change the whistleblower policy and allow for there to be another avenue for whistleblowers to go if the CAO is involved in the complaint.
All right, thank you, Diane.